On this episode of Cinema Disaster, we're going to be talking about the 1983 sci-fi horror classic, Videodrome. Now, if you've never seen this film, this is one that I highly suggest. It is a must-see for anyone who is into movies that really make you think. And this is one of those. And it's one of those films that you really have to pay attention to because it doesn't give you all of the answers spelled out for you, in plain sight. It gives you more like pieces to a puzzle that you have to put together yourself. And much like a good poem, I think, or, lyrics to a song even, that uses a lot of great metaphors and symbolism for things. I think this movie does the same thing. And because of that, it could be interpreted in many different ways. So each person could watch this film and come out with a completely different interpretation of what this movie means. And I think that is one of the things that makes it really interesting. This film is filled with bizarre imagery, surrealistic imagery. There's a lot of body horror, I guess. And this movie was written and directed by David Cronenberg. And for anybody who follows David Cronenberg's work, you'll know that body horror, especially in his early works, was definitely his thing. He did it in the movie Shivers, in Rabid. Then he would later on, after this film, go on and do it with the remake of The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis. This film was hailed as that generation's answer to the film A Clockwork Orange. And John Carpenter, who obviously, did Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, he completely praised David Cronenberg's work and said that he's better than all of us. All of the people making horror sci-fi at that time. Carpenter really felt that Cronenberg was the best. Special effects were done by Rick Baker, who did the special effects for Star Wars and American Werewolf in London. He did The Howling, The Funhouse, which was a Tobe Hooper film that I reviewed. Tobe Hooper being the person that did the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Rick Baker is the guy that Chainsaw and Dave worship in the film Summer School. I'll give you a little bit of a backstory, a little rundown of the plot. I'm not going to ruin what Videodrome is for you, because that's part of the mystery of this film, is tracking down and finding out what Videodrome actually is. It basically follows Max Wren, who is played by James Woods. He's the president of Civic TV, which is a UHF television station which broadcasts more extreme programming, softcore porn, violent programming, things like that. But Max Wren is not happy with the programming that he's picking, or that the station is choosing to run. And he wants to find something more extreme, something that's going to break through and reach a completely new audience. There's a person that works at Civic TV named Harlan, and he tells Max Wren that he has intercepted a broadcast out of Malaysia of a TV show called Videodrome. And this show, Videodrome, it's like reality TV as we have now, but it's much more brutal, because it's all these people in like a red room, and they're tied up, and it shows them being brutally tortured in acts of sadomasochistic violence and eventually murder. And Max Wren says that this is the future of television. This is the extreme, raw kind of television series that he has been looking for. So he tells Harlan to record copies of every broadcast that he gets, and he wants to broadcast it on Civic TV without using his permission. Of course, Max Friend thinks that, you know, all of the things that are going on Videodrome are done by actors. And they may or may not be. I'm not going to ruin that for you. But he ends up having to appear on this talk show to defend his choice of programming that, you know, he's been doing on the station. And that's where he meets Nikki Brand, who's played by Deborah Harry, who you know from Blondie. She's a psychiatrist and a radio host. And he also meets a guy by the name of Brian Oblivion, who is a professor. He's a pop culture analyst, and he's a philosopher. And the weird thing about Brian Oblivion is that he only appears on television if his image is broadcast onto a television from a remote location. And he says, he gives this whole speech, he says that the battle for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena. The television screen has become the retina of the mind's eye. Therefore, the television screen is part of the physical structure of the brain. Therefore, whatever appears on the television screen emerges as raw experience for those who watch it. Therefore, television is reality, and reality is less than television. So, Max enters into a relationship with Nikki Brand, and one night he introduces her to these videotapes of Videodrome, which sexually turns her on, and she talks him into having sadomasochistic sex with her. And like I said, I'm not going to ruin to you what Videodrome is. He has a friend who works at the station, I think, or it's the lady in charge of doing the softcore pornography or something, I can't remember. But she tells him to stay away from Videodrome because Videodrome has a philosophy, thus making it dangerous. And you'll just have to watch the movie to understand what that means. Pretty much from here on out, you know, Max Rennie, he tries to track down Brian Oblivion. He tries to track down the actual true source and the nature of the show Videodrome. And here's where the movie gets completely insane, because he starts having these hallucinations, and he can't tell the difference between what's reality and fantasy. And you, the viewer, a lot of times cannot tell the difference between what's reality and fantasy. His whole life sort of spirals into this like world of like paranoid hallucinations. He doesn't know who he can trust. He doesn't know if he can trust his own mind. Once again, visually stunning. This film is visually stunning, highly interesting, and this video itself has a message that I think still is relevant today, at least my interpretation of it, because like I said, it can be interpreted in many different ways. All you got to do is replace UHF TV for the internet or any technology that we're, you know, social media or our cell phones or anything, that any sort of technology that would be an extension of our human existence. And like the movie says, death to Videodrome, long live the new flesh. And until next time, check out this film and keep watching.